evening, could be early Tuesday, depends on where you are in the world. What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Um, we're gonna get in here and do this real quick. About to see how things go. We're gonna talk about some things, so we're gonna just get in here. Let me get some stuff set up. Get some stuff set up. Let me go in here and enter this thing up real quick. Turn this thing on real quick. Get this thing populating. So we can get some show on the go for those who allowed themselves to be shown today. And people be asking, say, you coming on? I said I was coming back on. I was on yesterday. I'm on again today. See what we got real quick. See what we're going to do. We're going to get into this real quick. We're going to talk about this real quick. You'll let me know what you think. We're going to put this thing on real quick. What's up? What's up? Keep on talking. I got to send out to let people know that I'm live. So keep on talking. Don't leave. I'm just sending out my info. Don't leave. So hang on there and keep on talking. Don't leave. I'm just coming on. Hold up. I don't. What you mean? Can you become a moderator? What do you mean? What do you mean? What you mean? Can you become a moderator? Okay, I am back now. Let's see. Okay, I'm here now. Give me a minute because I'm still sending out all my information and my contacts. So if you can hear me, let me know. If you can hear me, give me a 1. I don't know who this Jonathan Jones is. Can you be a moderator? Okay, I'll tell you like this. If you can hear me, give me a 1. And I'm gonna put this stuff out real quick. I'm here. Okay, I'm here now. What's up? Hopefully this thing will come back. It's acting like it's kind of stuck. Okay, so if you can hear me, give me a 1. Now let me answer this question about can someone be a moderator on here. If you can hear me, give me a 1. If we are live. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Okay, good. The only way I let nothing. I just had to like send stuff back out. I had to let people know that I'm on live. Yeah, we talking about all that because I'm gonna talk about that BAFTA award show where that Jonathan Davis said the N-word to Delroy Lindo and to Michael B. Jordan. And people are up here trying to make excuses that, oh, because you got a condition, you can use the N word. I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't. There's always an excuse to be racist. Yeah, no, it's like, well, it was no. Alina. And Alina, where are you coming from today? Alina, where are you coming from? I did see the booty cat. I did. Where are you coming from today? Let me know where you're coming from. Because I like to give your country, your city, your state a shout out. That's why. When people come on here, we acknowledge them from all over the world. So if someone is takes the time to stumble across this platform, I like to give them a shout out. I'm not gonna come knock on your door. So I think people got this thing misconstrued. Okay, UK in the house. Oh, and just let me ask you what part, because there are different parts of the country. So just asking. Now, see, that's the thing. I don't go run up on folks. And that's not, and thank you, Busy Slim, for saying that too. I don't go run up on folks. I have never ran up on nobody. I haven't met nobody that's pretty much, well, there was, I will say this. Uh, they do. They do. Cause see, this is how people think these days. They think they come on your situation, right? And I return the favor and say, where you coming from today? Where you live? And they got this thing like somebody's gonna just come at their crib like a stalker or sit in the bushes and look. And this is the thing. Even if I saw you on the streets by chance, we meet or something like that, I'm not gonna do nothing strange. That's not how I roll. Chances are I have not had anybody come up there. Well, I'll tell you, I'll answer that the best way I know how. Because if God is in your soul and your spirits, why would you have any reason not to? Because we're supposed to love unconditionally as brothers and sisters of the universe. We're supposed to see the best in people no matter what. If we're thinking like that, how do we become so evil and warped and mentally? When I say evil, I mean, why do we think so bad of people? Because they give us just cause? No, you can lovingly love somebody without them necessarily being, talking about me. Depends on who you dealt with. I mean, obviously, we know folks, but then there's situations where you give people benefit of doubt. You asking me that question, or you asking about myself? That's an interesting question that you ask. It's almost like somebody, but you asking for yourself. You're asking me about yourself or about for me. I wouldn't say I'm too easy to trust. I just think that you respect. Um, Depends on what y'all been through. Depends on what y'all been through. I always say unless it's a life or death matter, it can be resolved. There ain't that much hostility and negativity unless just someone's got some mental issues that they just don't want you. Then you gotta let that be. That's how I would answer that. But I'm always thinking that there has to be some middle ground. There has to be some kind of balance. There has to be something that we can resolve this with. But ain't nobody gonna do nothing. First of all, what about me? What? Ain't nobody gonna come up on nobody. I ain't been approached by nobody. I do have people that I associate with, but and I know them personally. What about me in that situation? Oh, well, mine's a very complicated situation because I didn't even live in said proximity growing up as a child. So I tell anybody I live with my grandmothers. I didn't even have my parents like that. So that's a whole different dynamic. But I ain't walk around with no hate or nothing like that. pray for situations. But sometime in life when someone don't want to deal with you, you gotta let them be. You can't make something that's not there. So you have to let it be. Doesn't mean that you a hater or that that you wish them bad. I don't wish nobody bad. Even my worst enemies. Because your life is not gonna be blessed by wishing negativity on folks. But at the same time, if someone don't want to mess with you, you gotta let it go. You got a bad relationship with your girlfriend or your ex-wife or friends or something, gotta let it go. I ain't nobody gonna come look. I think this is getting overblown because the person above went into defense mode. And I was giving a shout out to the country and to the place. You know, I would never ever do anything and I wouldn't condone that. Unless, of course, someone said, hey, if you're ever in the town or in the place, you're welcome to come through. I'd welcome and accommodate. Other than that, that's not something that I promote. That's amongst people that do that. But I have known people that have done that. Because let me say this, we all are strangers until we become familiar. And then we become familiar and then we become strangers. That's a quote. And if you want to know what that quote means, translation, we don't know what we are until we need you. And then we need you, then do we still know what we are? And do we still want to have the association? So it all depends on the way people perceive how they go about it, you know. Um, what you see is what you see. What you get is what you get. I don't, that's how I look at it. So I like to think people think highly enough about respect. That's all. If you allow it to. I think what changes people is what their own ideology. Like for instance, if they allow money, if they allow lifestyle, they allow other things. Depends on what people are about. Depends. It all depends on the person. I can't, again, that, you know, ain't no faking the funk with me. So, but I can't speak for others, you know, because I'll tell you like this, I had a life before there was an internet and it wasn't, and there were some things that were better about it because way we used to like use our brains and connect and you connect with certain people online, it's just like entertainment. You live vicariously through a movie you see or a song you hear or an athlete you root for, but you really don't know how folks get down. You just vicariously, you know, live through that. And that's just the love, the respect that you hope that that person is like, what have you. But again, we don't, I mean, you know, people are people at the end of the day. So take it how you want to take it, you know. I know one thing, if it's like Christmas or something, everybody trying to break you over for a meal or something, but it's funny. Once we say January 25th or March 25th or February 25th, which it almost is, then suddenly you're not welcome to come no more. What's up? What's up? TSP, one of my favorite people in the place to be. And get his cat a shout out. Got some incredible videos going over there on Instagram. Be watching stuff. Yes, I have. There were the sporting page. That's what he goes by. Yes, I have. And there still are to this day. You get the sellouts who are doing it. Today his name is Tyler Perry. Okay, no problem. Today is Tyler Perry. And when I say a black slave owner, it's someone that's not telling the truth. Michael Jordan happens to be one too. You know, you see, when you don't tell the truth about the circumstances, you condone the conditions. Mm, well, it starts off with your childhood. Be your parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, godparents, grandmothers, grandfathers, people lied, but they lied about different things. This situation is completely different. Now it's about clicks and views and lifestyle. Back in the day, it was about lifestyle without all and depend on who you're dealing with. Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson? Because when you say MJ is canceled, depends. And some people look at both of them in the same light for different reasons, which is stupid. No, 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 no. Neither one of them are canceled. But I will say this, Michael Jordan definitely took a little bit of a hit, though. I've heard some people call him a booty bandit and saying all kinds of stuff, which is preposterous. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you something. The real issue ain't even about that video. The real issue is that he went to court against NASCAR, won that case, and he won a race as an owner. That's the real issue that they had with him. See, people ain't gonna talk about that. He's in one of the most whitest sports there is. People don't realize how big NASCAR is. And I'm gonna tell you a story. I watched NBA All-Star games back in the day. NASCAR used to be on before NBA. Daytona 500 was on before. So when Jordan was a kid, he know they own everything. Well, there could be there is sacrificing. So I watch Michael Francesi. Do you watch Michael Francesi, the Italian mobster? Do you watch him? That's now a minister, so he claims. I guess it'd be macaroni pie because I'm a vegetarian vegan, so it'd have to be the mac and cheese. So anyway, Michael Francesi was talking about Michael Jordan's father, but he said that they didn't know. I know it was an inside job. Most of these things are inside jobs. Most of the stuff that happens, it happens just the way you see it planned. Because you cannot work in an industry that's all connected. And what is more connected than sports and movies and music? And the Hollywood plantation, it goes all the way back to DC and in between around the world. It's all connected. If I had to pick out that, it's Mac. Shepherd's pie I did a vegetarian one. That's cool. You can make it any way you want to make it. Do whatever you want. But Jordan, you will only know if there's, this is a trip out thing too, because the way they're trying to say certain things, you know. He already been canceled, if you want my honest opinion, though, because the ludicrousness of LeBron James being considered the second greatest player, nonsense with 4-6 finals record should tell you that they didn't think a lot of him. No, you can make it without. You can make it vegetarian style. You can do everything minus meat. I've done it. I did it. And there is like a veggie burgers, or you can put Linda McCartney or something like that, or Boca. You can do it. It's a shepherd's pie. That's what they told you. You can do it however you want to do it. That's fine. Eat what you want. I don't know who you are, but eat what you want. I'm not telling nobody what they should or not. Just speaking for myself. Talking about how I eat it. Some people are actually saying a mental condition excuses you saying the N word. This is hilarious. I know there's some trolls on here now. That's hilarious. Cracks me up. People will justify people being. Almost for the Celtics, yeah. And a twisted, because I heard all kinds of stuff when I was growing up with that. You know, people made jokes because they said the Celtics were becoming black, and then that's what happened. And then Reggie Lewis a few years later. It's kind of funny now that that team, two best players are black head coach. It's kind of ironic when I think about the Celtics history after what Bill Russell went through, and then you fast forward Havlicek, Kuzi to an extent, and then you got to Larry Bird, all that. So yeah, it's kind of ironic. You can believe it. You can believe it. I remember when that whole thing went down. It's pretty sad because he was a very talented player. He was like a cross between Dominique Wilkins and LeBron James. Strong, athletic. All right. Yeah, of course you would. And the way people are going today, especially letting Trump and letting this other people say stuff, you can't pop off like that because everybody ain't trying to be all. It's no excuse. No, because first of all, it's the first thing that you see. You know what you're saying. People look at you and say the words without saying the word. I don't justify nobody saying something that they know. They know. People are so conditioned that that's how quick to jump to stuff. And it's real. It's very real. Because they played team ball. Draymond wasn't there, and plus, let me tell you a story. Denver plays no defense. Denver is fool's gold. Jokic is not as dominant. They don't have a third option. They don't play defense. Their bench isn't as deep, and they are an underachieving team. And I might be one of the few people that actually calls him fraudulent, and I will talk about it. There's no double standard about it. It's a one standard because that's the plantation that allows you to disregard and disrespect what looks like you, what seems like you, and what says like you. That's why. That's why. Bottom line is if you are justifying something, that means that someone has green lighted. They spend billions of dollars to disrespect us. And they pay flunkies on the plantation to disrespect us because that's how they see us. When they see you as less than, they make money off of it. And they send that message out in the bottle to the world. That's how they see you. So if you listen to the ruckus and they're degrading and debasing, that's done on purpose. That's done on purpose. You don't love yourself and you sit there and you tolerate being derogatory, being like this. I'm not saying that people don't say stuff amongst their friends or low key or what have you. No, no, because he didn't coach defense. He didn't push an agenda, facilitate something to create a balance. They just been playing a way of just getting by because of the athleticism and the talent. That's not a team that's playing ball in a championship way, you know. And it's not just a regular old season. It says a lot. Jokic Jokic doesn't get hit up like he should. People been fanning out because they have people want to say he's as great as Shaq and say all kinds. I said no. Shaq did win. Shaq had standards. Shaq won. They played defense. Jokic is underachieving far as I'm concerned. He gonna fool around and be like an Aaron Rodgers of centers. If they don't turn that around, don't let OKC repeat. Don't let Minnesota beat your butt again. You know, don't let San Antonio get by you because Victor Wanyamba might get by your butt. I'm just saying. So I don't think it was Coach Malone. I just think that they stopped playing. You know, they just don't really. And Jamal Murray's an X factor, as sure as Aaron Gordon, but I just don't think they really put stuff. They are coming up. I just think guard play is going to be huge. If they can keep their guard play, their bench play, when Yama keeps getting better, they could be the team of the future. They got a chance to run 2 or 3 chips. That's a 2 to 3 chip run right there. So if you're a Lakers fan, cover your ears. I didn't say nothing about y'all, so y'all can cover y'all ears up because y'all need a whole lot of work. A lot of work. You gonna have to build that team around Luca to the point where it's like a national security. And I don't see anything that's gonna stop the pain and the bleeding. You might have to consider trading Austin Reeves to get some pieces for what you need. The kind of pieces that can win. Because I don't think the Bo and Luke Duke, the Duke boys of Austin and Luca can win. And I'm not even talking about LeBron. I'm just saying just with those two. And JJ Ridiculous can't win either because his coaching just gets, oof, You can't get waxed by legit teams like that. No one takes you serious. So maybe they'll figure out a good injury and just miss out. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, I'm gonna do it. Thank you, Arnell. I'm gonna do a video about the Nuggets. Thank you. I'm gonna talk about that because I've always said Jokic and Murray, they just been underachieving and they just been, they've been getting a pass for what I don't know why. They got that one ring, and that's almost 3 years ago. And considering Jokic's dominance and all the MVPs and all that, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. All right, so people are trying to justify racist words. That cracks me up. I already know what's going to happen with these polls because most of these people in here just will try to justify racists no matter what they can do. Cat is a known bigot, too. Mm-hmm. I think they can. I know Charles Barkley trying to run about Cleveland. I think if they can be disciplined. See, because one thing about Detroit, they always had that every 7 to 10 years where they are like where they are. If they can be disciplined and finish up, they could. But they might have to get a guy that's a veteran that keeps them savvy, the discipline that can score. That's the only thing I think that might be hurting them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because him and Donovan Mitchell are like two peas of the same pod. They can win 2 games each. So their offensive output is dangerous. And Harden is, they get on a run. Oh, yeah. Because Harden can score flat out. And it's just a matter of how far you can go with that. Oh, yeah. That's a good pickup for him. You know. But he's not a finisher. You still need somebody. And Donovan is either. Okay, you want the truth? What I heard, I think it was, I want to say, I heard it was gang related. It was something that went down. It's usually with him, it's either some cat or some chick. It ain't got nothing to do with the money. Now he wouldn't leave unless they gave him a just reason to leave. Because guess what? He's an LA kid. Why would he leave? And when you go all the way back east, That tells me something. That lets me know that there was something else going on. That ain't just he ain't just pack his bags up and tell Tyronn Lue he wanted out because it was something else going on. So I think it was something heavy. But I think he'll be a good fit with Cleveland, and I think the Clippers will be okay without him eventually. Because nobody wants him, and and he's been past the pull date for 5 years. And when he didn't get that ring in Phoenix, that was it. That was his last hurrah. And how long ago was that? That's 5 years ago. Well, look at him after that. He stunk it up the next year in Phoenix when Dallas blew that butt out, and then he took his bout to Golden State, and then he went to the Clippers, and he went to San Antonio. He been a dead man walking for like 5 years. So had he won that chip with Phoenix in 2021, he probably would have retired about 2 3 years ago. And it would have been right for him to retire in 2021, actually, because I think he'd been playing about 3 4 years too long. So I just don't see him having. And he was just at this stage. You just trying to get a check, draw something, because it ain't about your play. What you? Oh, messing with a woman. That's what the story was. That's what I heard. And the problem with Tyronn Lue is that he's old enough to be a coach, but he's young enough to still be running with you, if you know what I mean. So, you know. And those guys are like running buddies almost because CP3 was playing when Tyronn Lue was playing like 4 or 5 years after. Kawhi came in like when Ty Lue was just getting into coach. It's just like those cats are kind of like that far removed from him. So if Ty Lue was coaching someone that was 25 and under, then it's like, okay, he's really the coach. But you got cats that's, 35 and older, that's like peers. So so that's some real issues there. Mhm. So that's what happened with that. All right. Keep on these questions coming. We're doing good tonight. We're doing real good tonight. I already mentioned what happened with Tyrone Lue and CP3. Let's see if we get somebody to come on. Oh, okay. Yeah, the blizzard ain't no joke. Weather is bad. Weather is bad. Snow. I've had experience both. Snowstorm, you just have to be kind of like have all your stuff. It's the rainstorm. Eventually, it'll subside. Snowstorm, shoot, you could be buried in inches. and you have a hard time going somewhere. And I ain't with all that. I like the rain. You can go out. The snow, you stay. You know, it gets cold and damp. Hmm. No, it don't. Soup alphabet, cause I can spell my name in it if I had to have one. I like spelling like Wheel of Fortune. What's more interesting is the NCAA. That's not enough for discussion. There's nothing interesting about the NBA. What is there interesting to be interesting about? I'd like to see if Shea can win a chip part two, but I mean, it's just it just it's anticlimactic. But they all have their place. It's kind of like you have one without the other. I'd say, yeah, I mean, they all have their place. You pretty much, they all have a place. Mm. Yeah, I think they all hold their place. Mm. Well, I mean, obviously, if someone's stalking you, if they say something, if they create, unusual tensions and you fear for your sanity or your livelihood, there you go. But it has to be something extreme, you know. Only if it is a hostile situation. But again, eyes don't lie, but you can't prove stuff with just the eyeballs. Because if you do that, then everyone is speculative. So that's a very dangerous slope. You're not wrong. However, you gotta have proof. So somebody looks at you, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily trying to take you out, and you got to prove it. I, you know, yes and no. Yes, because of where Michigan is ranked, but no, because I just don't look at college basketball where we really have upsets anymore. I mean, how do we have upsets when, again, guys don't stay but 1 year? Uh, Everyone shoots threes. Michael Wilborn brought up a good point the other day on PTI. Steph Curry is the most impactful player of the last 40 years as far as that three ball. So, teams are going to lose. I think it makes a bigger deal if this was like 30 plus years ago, but today it's not a big deal. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. But that's where we are. And you know what? If you have not just the NIL money and the tie-ins, but that's where we are. I mean, everybody's making a dollar pound off everywhere you play. So what you expect? You can't control the narrative no more. The reason why cats got an issue with NIL and all this stuff is because it's business, but it's the big business that they just act like they weren't there, but it's there. So, you know, yep. These days it is. Can she rap? She's all right to an extent. Depends what you mean by a good stage performer. If I like someone that's like a OnlyFans type of potential person, yeah, she's good. There's nothing about her that's really that interesting to me, but she has an audience that likes that kind of low grade and degrading situation. So, you know, yeah, Lincoln resume is true. So I usually don't get asked about Cardi B. So forgive me if I'm kind of like nonchalant because she doesn't enter my premise at all. I just think that she's a subpar artist. And being average would at least mean that I think that I go, wow. But I didn't miss it. I didn't. And I alluded to it if you saw my video about Boston and the Lakers. I didn't miss it. I saw the statue. He kind of looked like Lee Majors with a tan. I saw it. I saw the Lola. I just thought, wow, they got their butt waxed on Pat Riley night. And JJ Redick is supposed to be his heir apparent. Coming from the content creator. Yeah, now Trump. Charlie Kirk ain't got no idea, nothing. Charlie Kirk was a plant. Come on now. You got to do better than that. I'm not dissing you, but come on now. Charlie Kirk was a plant. He was low level fruit. He just somebody that they trying to drummed up as somebody that was something, which there really wasn't much to him. Really isn't. And his wife ain't exactly suffering. Oh yeah, TSP. I saw Pat. That was embarrassing. Do you know DeAndre Ayton? He moves right about now like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar does, and that's a fact. They soft as they soft as Pudley in the glass, and to let Pritchard go off like that last night, oh god, Peyton Pritchard gonna want a raise. He tore they behind up, but it was long overdue for Pat Riley. The Bus family has done disservice to their real legends like him. How they did Jerry West, how they made Riley wait all those years. Caitlin Clark wishes she could play like that. That cat went off last night. I saw that 3-pointer. He was just busting. He was more Reeves than Reeves. He's more Reeves than Reeves. Actually, and let me tell you a story. That's how Jaylen Brown's a better leader than Luka Doncic. No one else is going to talk about it. You see, you know what White can do without Jason Tatum there. Did you see the way he played? Pritchard was balling, yo. Caitlin Clark wishes she could play like that. Reggie was being kind. She wishes she could. No, they didn't end slavery. You can't end when you profited off of something. You can't end something that you have benefited off of something. See, if you really wanted to end it, you would have either given black folks reparations or trips back to Africa or go somewhere to relocate, and they would have had a free passport to wherever they choose to go to. So no, he was an idiot and a ding dong and a racist bigot who did not know the half of what he was talking about, and he was uneducated and too young and too dumb. And let me tell you this. Since we're going to act like they ended it in 1865 when it was actually 1965 when the civil rights started to come in. So what was the purpose of 100 years later? Hmm? Do explain that. And they still had plantations up to the 60s. So please explain it. Charlie Kirk didn't know the half of what he was talking about. The sad part is being young, ignorant, and dumb and having a platform to say stuff where people just fed his head to say stuff that he didn't even have an inkling of, and he wasn't around to understand the ramifications. And how can you speak on something that your ancestors and people benefited from? They weren't afraid. They weren't afraid. If they were afraid, they would have listened to Marcus Garvey and saw to it that you had options to go back home. There was too much money to be made. They weren't afraid. They can control. They weren't afraid. They ain't never been afraid of black folk. Now, what they're afraid of is if you put your mind together and go to economical warfare. That's when you get scared. We weren't afraid of people walking down the street. But if you turn that over and created something that um, economically, then you'll see some fear. I'm not talking about some token ownership. Let me come back on real quick. I'm not talking about token ownership. I'm not talking about um, um, token award shows. Mm-mm. We see, hmm, imagine if you will, a Michael Jackson owning the Beatles catalog, a Michael Jordan owning Nike, a Diddy owning alcohol and his own network, a Suge Knight and Jay Z owning labels, owning the masters, having that on stock markets where they have residuals and they are part of the stream hustle that becomes Spotify and these other places. Imagine if they could network and control the narrative of their works. Imagine Aretha Franklin owning her stuff, Whitney owning her stuff, Prince owning his stuff, and R. Kelly owning his stuff, Usher owning his stuff, a Chris Brown owning his stuff, a Drake owning his stuff. Do I need to go on? Barry Gordy puts Motown and has real say. Just imagine that. Oprah actually owning stuff. Tyler Perry actually owning stuff. Eddie Murphy, Denzel. Imagine all that working together. Quincy Jones tying it all together with Clarence Avant. Jimmy Jam, Trey Lewis, Babyface Adelaide. Imagine all that tied. Lincoln didn't free nothing. They all didn't care. And I don't care. All them dead presidents was all about making money off of slaves. All them dead presidents followed an amendments which said keep you in check. Keep your butt locked up psychologically. You'll never get free. That's what they've done. So I don't salute none of them because they all gatekeepers. They all been kept by the gate by the masses of a big massa. You know. And as long as they have laws and they have divide, yes. That's true. That's true. And there was presidents before him too. And there was a black president before him. That was actually documented. But if he was a pimp because he owned everything. He was pimping. Got a whole state named after him in America. It was. There is all truth to that because if you're black in America, you have a white cousin. But they never told the truth about how people have blended. So that's just what they do. And they hope that you never ever question them. That's why they have to DEI everything. That's why they have to downplay everything. Because it's a lot closer than what you think. Slave quarters, they never go away. He won't. Now I like your joke, but I'm gonna tell you something. He'll never say anything that of merit. He'll say stuff that'll be of distraction. Nothing of merit. Because he's bought and paid for to self-destruct. He tried that mess with T.I. It didn't work though. T.I. just clapped him up. But he tried that mess. They don't want that. These rappers they got have set black folks back 100 years. And that's why I have a mixed emotions with hip hop. And I say that I mean what I say. Rappers getting excited about some Grammys and some uh awards and all this mess. Got blood on their hands, no good and well that ain't nothing been justified since Pac and Biggie. No good and well. They all have association with Diddy and Dre and all that stuff. And you sit up there and acting like you got to sit there and take it. And you got some racist piece of trash like Gene Simmons coming out talking about you don't belong to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, only Chuck D put that turkey in check, but he did it in, But see, this is where we are. There's still no love for you. You treat you like a slave. I kid you not. So 50 Burns. That's gonna be the stage name, 50 Burns. When they wouldn't even have your behind on that show 35 years ago. They wouldn't have Will Smith on that show. They was outside protesting in 1990. People don't do nothing about history. It's true. But when you hear them talking about how come we can't get in, and you'll sit there and they mock you every chance they get. You know, you're not invited to go. And why would you go now anyway? The streaming is nothing but mafioso if there ever was. Why you got streams? How we gonna know who's really streaming what? You know? And why are artists going to these antiquated old timey shows today anyway? Because it doesn't make or break your career. Not at all. Not at all. Depends on what you consider successful. Frankie Beverly and Mays never won no Grammy in a lifetime. But did he? Did you? He come to a chocolate city. He packed out booties left and right. So please, didn't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. Eddie Murphy ain't never won no Oscar. Is Eddie? Even though his movies is corny, because he did that mess with Peter Davison. I saw that mess. That was garbage. But guess what? He's still making movies. He's still putting stuff out. So you tell me. Somebody's still putting a budget on Eddie. So don't tell me you need this. How that work for Halle Berry and Cuba Gooding Jr.? How it work for Outkast? You went on them. What's it mean? Don't mean nothing. Don't mean a thing. It's just tokens. That's just something that they put on your mirror. They didn't hurt Ice Cube's career. So, but you see the fakery of these shows. Oh, what? Oh, and all that crying. Please. They give you a award just so you can shut up. How'd that work for Lauren Hill? Still owe money. So that's all I gotta say about that. You can sit there and think what you want to think, but it don't make no difference. It ain't gonna make or break you. You got people who will tell you otherwise, but they be telling you lies on. Let's see what we got. All right, anybody out there, feel free to keep on talking. Mm. You never know who be lurking, but I let it be known how I feel about stuff. So What social media is more important? Um, Depends on who you ask. Let me see. How would I answer that question? LinkedIn is more important for jobs. TikTok is the attention span, but with all the politics, depends. Instagram is interesting because it's got more popular, but yet in ways that I can't cut because you had Instagram models and then you had people been putting up their stuff. So Facebook was the one that was popular though. Lincoln to me is only because of business, but that depends what kind of business you're into. Um, if I had to say which one is more important right now, I still say TikTok's got a more. That's the one because of the information and the vibe. People still trip off of TikTok. I'd say TikTok or Facebook. Because Facebook is the centralizer of a lot of that stuff. So that's the way I'd say that. But again, it depends on who you ask and depends on what your criteria is. Okay. So what we got. Let's get some groove back and see where we are. Before you ask, mm, maybe back tomorrow, but more than likely back Saturday. And then Saturday, Sunday. That's how it's looking. They're always the same to you too. But I'm still on here for I got another 15, 20 minutes if people want to talk. I got another half hour if you want to talk. Because I'm on here. Whatever's on your mind, feel free. Let's talk it. I got another half hour. I was just saying in advance what it looked like. All right. Peace on to you. Yeah. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? I might have to do a video about that. Aside from that 67 and 15 record that first year, and they won the Shaq Kobe that era, he came back and they were mediocre. When he came back, was it '06? And then he lost in the finals. It wasn't a dominant situation. It wasn't a dominant situation. I know what you're thinking too, because Phil got more um chips in LA. But that Showtime team was just another level. That's why the old man Bus wanted him back, wanted the Showtime back. Oh, I already said that. You so you watch my videos, I talk about Magic a lot. What do I always say about Magic? He's the only guy in the top 10 ever, ever, ever that what could beat you scoring just 2 points. The only guy in that list that could beat you in 4 or 5 different ways. Let me get on there when I get on. I say this. The only guy that could beat you that way. The only guy. He respected Kareem. They all sacrifice because a lot of people don't understand. That's what the OGs used to do. Let me just say this real quick. If Magic Johnson had a one to average 25, he could have. Maybe 30. Easily. Easily. Same thing with Isaiah Thomas. You know. I'm gonna tell you something. I come on here. I w- I don't do it in the videos because people don't really pay attention to the video as much as they do to when you're live. So when you catch me live, this is where I come on. This is where I come out. That's why I put on the cape and I be rocking it. So you want to talk? We'll shoot the facts. What you didn't see that I remember, I'm gonna tell you. That's why I don't be hearing all this mess about Jordan and LeBron and Kobe being the three greatest when there's a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when there's a Magic Johnson involved. Miss me with all that mess. I know what Magic says, but let me tell you something. Can't nobody do what Magic Johnson did. Beat you in multiple ways. Multiple ways. And no one could do you like Kareem could do you with the greatest shot known to man, the most lethal shot known to man. Nobody could do like Kareem could. They played team ball. Magic spent his lifetime camped out in the finals. 9 finals in a 13-year career. Who else gonna see that in recent memory? I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And so the thing about it is that Pat Riley made everybody accountable in detail. When Phil got there, Phil had Shaq and Kobe, and they had the pieces, and they played within the system, and it worked, and they brought the right pieces. But Pat Riley, they were always going one year only. Pat Riley did burn out in LA. That was after 89, he burned out. But look at what he did, though. I mean, he won, 4 chips there. Lost to Boston once, lost to Philadelphia once, lost to Detroit once. But look at what he did, though. I mean, look at the run he had. Just crazy. 4-3, 7 trips. So, but anyway, yeah. Well, most people ain't gonna come out and tell the truth about Magic because they want to go by stats and they want to say, well, LeBron's athleticism is great, but if he had the IQ of Magic Johnson, he would have been the GOAT. You heard it here first, second, third, and fourth. He had Magic Johnson's IQ, he'd be the GOAT. That's why he looks so bad now when he plays. Well, Wanyamba is got an interesting way that I know what you're getting at. No, well, not really, because Kareem was kind of built a little bit. Kareem had a little chest. Kareem had finesse. When Yama doesn't really have finesse, His juke though the other night was sweet. That fake, and then he did an Elijah one there. If he gets some foot, let him get some wheels. Let him get some wheels. Watch out. Watch out. Let him get some wheels. Watch out. That was a nice juke he did, but let him get some wheels. And then he starts dribbling. Let him have a bank shot. Tim Duncan, watch out. Let him have a teardrop like Tony Parker. Watch out. Let him shoot that ball off his chest physical. Oh, that's why I can't compare it, because Kareem, man, that hook was fluid, yo. The way fluid used to mean, not the way Stephen A and all those other people making it. It was creme de creme. He made that thing splash. And he had technique, rhythm, cadence. If you say so. I mean, which in what regards to what? Because tell me where you're going with a statement like that, and I'll tell you what I think. It won't be interesting if Boston comes out the East. That won't be interesting. But I do like Jaylen Brown, but I know they hate him, but that won't be interesting. Uh, well, he gonna have one more year, I think, of knots on the head, but I think next year and onward, I think he gonna be contending for a chip, and I see 2 or 3 rings out of him. Especially if they get the guard play and the bench straight and tighten up, and the Aaron Fox stays consistent. They can get another piece. Oh yeah. Well, I know one thing. Him and Chad Holmgren ain't exactly bosom buddies. So, and see, that's the problem right there with OKC. Holmgren has to dominate. If Holmgren dominates, them cats can win about 2 or 3 rings, because you know what SGA gonna do. But they gotta dominate the glass. They gotta own that. They've got to own that. To me, that's the X factor for OKC. For the Spurs, it's the guard play. If your guard play can match up and stay consistent, and you get bench play, you're gonna be you got a chance. So to me, it goes in polar opposites. Oh yeah, oh yeah, because Jalen Brown, LeBron still disrespect because he said the truth about Bronny, and plus Jalen was upset about what happened in Beverly Hills. Oh yeah, it's always a statement. Jalen's been one of the most disrespected players I've seen the last 30 plus years, and it ain't got nothing to do with basketball. I think Harper's kids, first of all, they grew up watching LeBron, and also they don't really understand it. And in a way, I mean, nepotism works for and against you. You know, Kobe Carl played George Carl's son. He sucked, but he tried. You know about Austin Rivers. He was okay. He was okay. You know, it works. It's part of the whole thing. Yeah, but the problem is you can't sell him nowhere though. He's better than Tatum, but they can't sell him. He got the wrong complexion and he thinks too much like a brother. And they do everything in their powers to downplay him. You saw what happened with the Olympics? I could shoot and make videos about Jalen Brown till the cows come in. When I've already did videos about that. He's Kawhi Leonard with more mouth. And these folks don't like it. And some of the folks that look like me don't like it either. I'm just saying. That's the hardcore facts. But Luke Walton, aside from passing, he sucked. And he sucked as a coach. And his daddy helped him out. And no one's gonna talk about it. He could pass the thing, and he was okay. He was okay. Austin hits a couple of threes, but no, Bron. It's not about your size; it's about your soul. Bronny just looks lost out there, yo. He runs up to the line and he's scared to shoot, and he just kind of ducks and moves. He has no presence out there, so that's a big difference. You can't be meek out there. You can't be meek. Sorry. You looking like you docile, someone's gonna eat you for breakfast. That's all I'm saying. So size don't make no difference. 868 and Luke Walton was a third tier player. You know, shot okay three ball. Had actually could pass that thing. Shaq gave him love for passing, but he had no game. He was one of the white boys got hooked up. And Austin Rivers, eh, I think that because I'll say this, as I've said this before, Bronny is a very respectable young man for what he overcame with his medical. But basketball was too much. He wasn't ready. The kid wasn't ready. And to be honest with you, should have stayed in college 4 years, then gone overseas, maybe CBA, and then come to the NBA, and then probably ride the pine for like to about what year 6 or 7, and maybe get on there. It's too much. But that's not their Lakers' problem. The problem with them is that they got corny coaches who don't know what to do with what they got. See, I could sit there and talk about LeBron holding them up and Bronny, but that's the least of their problems. Play no defense. I don't think he set the tone. I'm not buying that. I'll tell you why. He had to be great to an extent to get where he got, but to set the tone means that he had to dominate what was going on. I don't look at him as dominant. I think Steph Curry was more dominant. I think Steph Curry set more of the tone of the day than LeBron did. LeBron was a high school prodigy that they ingrained in what he did. But again, I don't think he set a tone far as like the way the game was going. He was a good manipulator of what was going on. I'll give him that. He took cues from and there's a few factors to be involved. They were going to do that anyway. See, the way I differ from other content creators, I pick on the real culprits. The real culprits is David Stern to Adam Silver. They are the ones who are allowing this. The owners are allowing this. The owners wanted the ball to be done a certain way. When Don Nelson used to go across the pond and get players on the Mavericks, Euroball, etc., all this was implemented. When what's his butt, the GM of the Sixers? What about analytics? What's that got to do with LeBron? James Harden benefited from that. The LeBron factor that people got more of an issue is that he jumped team to team from free agency, even though, again, teams deal players all the time. They deal in situations you couldn't imagine. You never would have seen an Anthony Davis being dealt to Washington unless they just thought he sucked for what Luka. But then again, it evens out because Luka is not a championship player. Because you still got to get all these other pieces with him. The LeBron James thing that he's got going for him, and it's the strangest thing I'm going to say. He really wasn't a leader per se, but he did all the fundamental things enough and he kept the pieces where other guys try that and they don't succeed. So his way worked. It was a very different way in that regard. But the culture today doesn't really, I don't think it reflects him because none of these guys are set out to go mess up with teams where they're successful. I'm talking about the generations playing today. I don't see none of them saying, "Yeah, I'll go run with Steph." Because SGA does not remind me of anything LeBron did, Jokic did, and Giannis did. Joel Embiid ain't done it so far. So I don't see him on that. What he understood was the power of the player if you utilize where you want to go to an extent. To an extent. But he still danced with a slave master and Dan Gilbert, so I don't know where he was so progressive. But again, Durant cry all the time, but I mean, I don't see. I see the tone set by the owners. I think the owners are the ones, and the G and the commission, all the people that's pulling the strings. They got you thinking. They got you thinking because they feel that they can make or break anybody that they want to call the greatest. That's the irony. If you want to talk about ironies. I agree with Perry point about coaches dressing professionally, but some people label it respectably politics. Because they think he was looking too much like a politician. And I think that he was dressed for success. You grew up in an era where black suits, gray, brown meant certain levels. It was tailor made. You were to look of a man of respectability. But I think that because of the slackness of when you see a Tyronn Lue, you see the slackness of JJ Redick, it's a different era. Tom Landry used to wear a hat and dress the nines as an NFL head coach. And guys had a certain decorum. There was a certain respectability to how they groomed themselves. Riley took all that on because he was a nerd. He was a geeky cat. So why would I be surprised that he would not, fix it up, dress it up, you know? Chick Hearns talked about him like a dog back then on them side. And that thing that was on that about the Lakers, I wouldn't watch it. I already got the book. Terry Pluto's book is a must read. Yeah. They're not gonna come out and say Dr. J was a revolution, y'all. Are you kidding me? Dude with jewelry and an afro hanging all on the rim. And white folks were scared, but they needed that. They needed him. He saved the NBA. Because he represents everything. Now, so let me go back up to what you were saying about the NBA above. What you said about LeBron? You said the irony of their culture day. No, Dr. J set the tone. Dr. J set the tone. See, they had to go buy in to get him. Dr. J's got more impact on the culture than that. Dr. J, when the Nets went to Philly, that was big. Turned down the NBA teams, ABA. His style, his play, his demeanor, his swag is what you see. That predated Iverson. People get it because they think because of you scared. Well, you scared white folks in different ways, but that afro was scary. Hanging in the air was scary. Having a nickname and coolest thing on the streets. LeBron doesn't have that. He's corporate. When you say for the culture, yeah, he's actually a cultured cat for what they like. Dr. J was, and that was the one that really set that tone for Jordan, to LeBron, to Kobe, to a lot of them. That's why cats still look up to Dr. J. That's why when you hear Shaq does the podcast, you have Shaq has Dr. J on it. That's who they look up to. The LeBron thing is actually counterproductive, but it works towards the corporate heads in the suits. So he's actually working in concert with the corporate wigs. He's not really Oh, it did. It did wonders for Will Chamberlain and Kareem too. Because that was a sign that they too black. And guys had to figure out how to score in other ways, which they did. They did. Guys learned how to shoot bank shots, long shots, fadeaways, finger rolls, sky hooks, floaters, teardrops, all that. And they banned it because of the black athlete being too dominant. It's always racial. And I don't care what nobody says. Nobody wants to tell the truth about it. It always is. It's like how they say it's always Coke, it's always race. The dunk was the most ferocious thing you couldn't stop. And now they did stop it in the NBA. And no, I don't blame LeBron for not participating because it doesn't it's kind of like winning an Oscar or Grammy. It doesn't really make a difference. It really doesn't. The truth is, if he ends up with a Blake Griffin or a Sean Kemp career or a Neek or something, which is not a diss to Dominique or not a diss to Vince Carter, but imagine if he never won. The huge implication because you just know for dunking. So in his defense, that did wonders for him. He did, except he was too black. And he liked the sugar candy. And Dr. J was uh had some crossover appeal. David Thompson was scaring folks. But actually David Thompson wanted that pop life too. He did. But the see thing about it, when Cass went to the ABA, that was countering the NBA. Well, he's doing what a lot of them did though. He just did it in a way where he built his brand with it, and some people take exception to it. He strategized himself in a position where finances and different things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't tell me that you're 4-6 and that they want to keep throwing you as the second greatest player, which is a diss to Michael Jordan. Not so much, it's a diss to him because that's just say we made you. Oh, he can articulate. How about that? He can articulate. That's a lost art. Because to be honest with you, so few can. And if you want someone who can really give Dr. J a run on the mic and surpass him, that's Walt Clyde Frazier. Most of these cats can't talk on the microphone. Public relations is not their strong suit. And having an understanding of the game and waxing poetically is not part of the, just saying. So, oh yeah, because they don't teach fundamentals no more. They want people to sit there and just say the bare minimum and just to. And it's a different type of way they articulate. Now that's why Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie and Charles are so effective because it works. Now you have guys like Chris Webber who can articulate. Jalen Rose can articulate. But it says something when a great player can articulate and also put perspective on the game. There's so few that can do that. And Dr. J knows how to put it in a way where it was, just saying. So when you see these things, you just remember them. Mm-hmm. Bill Walton. Bill Walton. I said this in a video I did, which will come out in some time. That was kind of like the Dwayne Wade situation of centers in that, but so Wade's got more carries, more weight overall is a weight in his position. But that run, that window was almost as great as anything you've seen. Because Walton was holding his own. He was holding his own against Kareem. He was a handful. And, he was there. You did have to be. You had to shoot inside out. You had to handle the rock. You had to know how to hit spots. You had to defend. You had to stand up for your team. He did it all. He was a bad dude. I was a huge Walton fan, as far as that go. Yeah, they won 4 straight against Philly after Philly went up 2-0, and he couldn't do nothing with Dr. J in the air, but they held him in check down below. Dr. Jack Ramsey had a great defense. Maurice Lucas was putting wood on people. Lionel Hollins, they was a balance. Portland had a balanced team. And they were coming back 2 years later until he got hurt because they were actually challenging the record. He was Sabonis and he was Jokic before them. Oh, easily. Because not only did Curry and Wade are like two of the most unselfish superstars I've ever seen, and people thrived in them. The problem with LeBron and Durant, LeBron style can wear thin on you. It can wear thin on you. You're forced to do things, but it can wear thin on you. And guys have to play. And again, everyone can't play in that system because that's Kyrie. And as far as Durant, you gotta have a legit point guard that can be a playmaker, and you have to have another perimeter player that can curve him because he is not cut out to run and take over like that. That's not his style. So yes, I'd take Curry and Wade. Of course, LeBron would love to have Durant. He won all three of them. But I would too, because on just from leadership, the moxie of the leadership alone, they show me more leadership qualities. I don't trust LeBron and Durant, but the thing is that again, they two peas of the same pie. They figured out how to play along with someone that could make them look great, and then they could hold their own and look good. But they don't have the same. They didn't have the same build as Curry and Wade. LeBron had to go to Wade to learn how to win, just like Durant had to go to Curry. And it tears Durant's behind up for that. It tears his butt up because he knows. He knows. 50% on this poll is interesting. That's a fair point, though. See what I heard something. I liked it because Magic and I said, well, because most people don't. I feel I'm one of the few people online who be giving Wade his due, not only as a Heat fan, but as a basketball fan. I don't see a lot of cats do it. I know I catch a lot of feedback, blowback what I say. I still got him tied with Kobe for the second greatest two guard. And I'm gonna tell you why. Can't put nobody with Jordan. Kobe wasn't it. I don't want to hear this close. See, when Scottie Pippen said that he had Wade and Kobe close, I said, yeah. And the one thing they shared is there's two things they shared in common. Shaquille O'Neal, and when they got better talent around them, they won more rings. Left to their own devices, they almost canceled each other out. Wade was the defender, Kobe was the offensive player. You put the right coach system, it's almost identical. Because I know 3 out of 5, 5 out of 7. 2 rings separate. But to me, basically Kobe's offense scoring. But to me, they're identical when it came money time. Wade was just as lethal. And Pat Riley had a guy that reminded him of exactly the kind of player that he wanted to have and coach and draft. And that was the one that got where they are. Because Wade was a standard. And that's a fact. So I know exactly what he was saying. Because usually you would have probably taken Alonzo Mourning on that trip. And he know he did D Wade dirty. Wade should have some co-ownership of Miami. That whole thing was done dirty. Wade sacrificed a lot. So it's only fitting. And Kobe loved Wade too. Most people did. They get mad because they don't look at it from that angle. Maybe Italy. Maybe. maybe Italy. Um, no, because they don't because Kobe gets seen like he's superior. I don't like hearing that he's the closest thing to Jordan nonsense. No, he ain't. The only difference is that Kobe had was more healthier. But if you think about it, in '09, Wade got robbed of the MVP. Wade averaged the same points per game as Steph Curry did a few years later. Think about it. So, if we being honest about stuff, and the thing is that Wade's dominance was felt because he really had to carry the load. He really did. So when he had the right pieces, I know what he meant. I remember that 2013 series against the Pacers. And as great as LeBron was playing, they were scared of Wade. Frank Vogel and them were geared up because they were still talking about Flash. I remember. This is about what, 7, 8 years later? Think about it. And he started to kind of trail off by then, but they still hadn't got over what he could do. He's doing what they tell him to do. No, I don't think he's doing a good job. I don't like none of the commissioners in pro sports. Until they get black commissioners, I don't like none of them. No, he ain't doing a good job. A good job at what? You got signs in the end zones that says end racism and discrimination, but Colin Kaepernick got white ball. You don't have where your black ownership's at. Don't tell me no Magic Johnson token job in Washington, which don't really mean much. Black head coaches 3. Where's your black general managers? And Brian Flores still got that lawsuit against the NFL. No, he ain't doing a good job. He's happy he gets a bad bunny and he can kind of front. I'd say he is more like, if I had to say MJ at the center, I'd probably say more like I say more like Bill Russell because you got to understand something. He set the tone. He set a tone. I don't know if I could compare any guard to Wilt. I don't know if I could because Wilt's freakiness was just so another level. Hakeem, Kareem, Kobe. Oh, let me think. I think that's an interesting one for his skills. I gotta think about that because Kobe got any shot he wanted to get off. Um, hmm, Had to think about that for a moment. The problem with Kobe though is that when he got in his feelings, he wouldn't play though. I remember. See, that's why I can't put him at high ranking. I still remember that game in '04 against Sacramento, and Phil called him out, and he pouted and scored 8 points in that game, and he pouted that game. That was May of 2004. And then I remember against Phoenix, he blew that 3-run lead against Phoenix, and they blew that to Nash and them. There's things that he's done, reason why I can't put him. I might be one of few. I can't have him as a top 5. I say top 10. And I think he had top 2 or 3 talent. He's one of the most skilled players, but I can't put him higher because he did some stuff that was almost like defiant when he got in his ways. And he didn't really, I don't know. Me and Kobe, look, and it's not taking nothing from him. But I didn't think him and Lamar were exactly gonna be Jordan and Pippen. They had to bring Gasol in, Andrew Bynum. They had to bring pieces in to cover him, you know. They tried the formula, the lethal weapon formula, which post Shaq with Gasol, with I forgot who was the center they had before they had you know, are you talking about Wade or are you talking about Kobe? Because they both had great runs from '06 to 2010. Which one are you talking about? That's why I talk about them being dead heat. Because if you take the rings out, what was 3-1? Yeah. Yeah. When I make my argument, that's what I'm talking about. Because a lot of people forget how filthy Wade was, and he was the All-Star Game MVP in 2010. Yeah, yeah. So imagine if Wade gets a Paul Gasol in Miami. Who knows? Before LeBron gets there, who knows? You know, we never know how things turn out. I just look at it in totality. But that's an interesting comparison. But if I'm gonna play a guard, if I'm gonna play a guy that's a small forward or a guy to a center, I guess that means Kawhi Leonard is Moses Malone. Then that's who Kawhi Leonard reminds me of. It's like Moses meets Jordan in a way. He's got that uncanny ability. Uncanny. But you know, see, because I saw certain things with Kobe and Wade, which I know that and they. It's just that Jordan was another level, though. Well, yeah, I can make a lot. I can make. I'm when I mention the Moses, I'm talking about the rawness of him. But the Walton aspect is at the top of the key when he can pass the ball and do the subtle things. That's the Walton part I will give you. And I guess how his career's turned out with the injuries and stuff, because stat wise, he should been if he's not hurt, there's no telling. Except his situation is different because that whole was it Tanya Hardin whack of the knee with Golden's Andrew Bogut? That was different than how Walton's situation went. That was Bushwick what Golden State did to Kawhi. And the NBA ain't say nothing about that. So and then when he was saying that he was hurt and Tony Parker was hating on him and Popovich and them thought they were funny and they sent him to Toronto and then he fools around wins a ring, he shut him up for life. So oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially with the guy who had an offensive game. To this to this day, as we talk, they'll say he's the only guy out there who can score 30 and hold you under 20. He still gets that love. And LeBron knows how bad he was. That's why they wanted him bad to play with him and AD. Bad. Bad. That's how bad. That's how tight he was. And he's the most frustrating superstar I've seen in the last 20 plus years, too, because if he's been healthy and played, we have him ranked higher. He's one of the 75 greatest, but where would he be with no incompletes? He could be anywhere from 12 to 21 if everything had been on point. So he's frustrating because you get glimpses of it, but you don't get the whole. So okay. So yeah, I think a lot of Kawhi. I appreciate how this poll is going. I see more people are taking part in it, so thank you. You get hit in your leg and they knock you out when you were up by 25 in the game, and let's see how you feel. Because that was a dirty move. But he made up for it in Toronto. I think he had the last laugh. Because the Spurs haven't been back to the finals since after what happened to him. So do tell. And he was the last Spur to win a finals MVP. You do tell. 2014. So keep that in mind. Keep that energy. I understood how he felt. And then to get dealt to Toronto, like that was an insult, yo. So okay, I'm gonna be on for 15 more minutes. I got 15 more. I'm doing a nice long one tonight, so y'all can't say that I don't put the hours. I put the time in. This show gonna be on for a while too. It's gonna be a nice 2 hour. It's a lot of segments in this one, so if you ain't watched it, you can rewatch it, and we cover a lot of bases. I got 15 more minutes on here, so let's keep on talking. Because she's got family members that's got some issues, and she doesn't have any financial support from the industry. So she went running to someone that would cover her behind, and that's what they do when they need a favor. Well, they did allow you to have jump space, but it was a cheap shot by Bogut. I don't care how you say it. I remember the play, and he did get hurt, and it changed the momentum of the series. And Kawhi Leonard was one of the few guys who could definitely hang with Curry, could hang with Durant, and could hang with LeBron. So you can say what you want. You could try to revisit the history if you want. Kawhi could hang with those cats. And they are supposed to allow you a space. What they did, it was a cheap shot by Bogut. I remember. But anyway, he went on and won in Toronto. So Nikki needs to, and again, sometimes you hope that if you do something like that, I know I can't stand this narrative when I hear Durant and them get on here talking about that's the greatest era of basketball. I'm like, give me a break. He was eating their butt for breakfast. They had no stoppage for him running in the lane. He was just too strong. He really was. The problem he had is that Paul Gasol was like 66. That was the problem. Because if Paul Gasol had been about 20 years younger, that Laker run of Gasol with him would have been something. But they were too old. They looked old, and they were, and Parker was old. They were just old beat, they were steps off. He did get the last laugh because he got traded to Toronto, which is like Saudi Arabia. And to go there and put that team and do something that DeMar DeRozan didn't do, that Vince Carter didn't do to win a chip. Are you kidding? That was a huge statement. Makes no difference. He beat him. Still, Steph Curry was there. Steve Kerr was there. Steve Kerr, Draymond, Steph was there. What's the excuse? I know what was out, but for him, that was a statement. He dropped that shot against Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is still talking about the process. Yep. They did need him against Toronto because if you remember game 5, he came out and was balling. He looked great. He looked great. And if they had him, they win the series. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna say nothing stupid. Again, Golden State fans, yes, you do three-peat if Durant plays. I don't think whatchamacallit did a Bushwick play on Clay Thompson, but it's like he came up under him in game 6, Danny Green. Mhm. Well, Danny Green came up under him. And Golden State did have momentum. And I do think that they win that game, it goes back to game 7. But the problem was they had no answers for Kyle Lowry. They were just, and Fred VanVleet was just knocking shots down, and PJ Siakam was balling. They had the size, they had the versatility. Nick Nurse showed he could coach. Do you remember? Yeah. But Clay would have been a problem though if he'd have stayed healthy though. But Toronto looked like they would have beat them with Clay. But without Durant, it's a pick'em series. Pascal was something else. Yeah, because see, Pascal is what you want Porzingis to be. Second, third option, and can give you the blues. Pascal's got it like that. He's just not a first option. But as a second, third option, he's a nightmare. He's everything that Serge Ibaka wasn't. And I'm telling you, Pascal, I'm surprised Golden State didn't try to go after him. I don't know why teams don't try to get him. If you got a top tier player and you got a cat like that next to you, and you can slide you a perimeter player, look at what happened with Indiana. Pascal is a bad dude. He's one of the most slept on second, third options in the last 10 years, I think. He just ain't a first option. But as a second, third, well, he's problem. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Ibaka was a handful. Like I said, really good player, very good player. It was dirty because Golden State don't play no tough defense. When does Golden State play tough defense? The only time I gave Golden State props on defense is when John Morant tried to bring that old push paddle bank shot up and Clay slapped it from the back. And then they don't play no tough defense. They did stops and play no tough defense. No one associated Golden State with no tough defense. That was not tough defense. They couldn't stop Kawhi. They was up by 20 points in third quarter. What you talking about? At Oracle, tearing that butt up. Shit, they were sending people home. What you talking about? But when Kawhi went down, that was the ship be sinking. And they had no answer. But it doesn't matter. The only thing I'm saying, yep, Jaja bored him. That's how he built that's how he built it. That's what I was trying to say, because I remember that day. You know how I remember? Because it was Mother's Day. And I was at the Olive Garden, and they was spanking them cheeks by 20. Tearing that butt up in Golden State. With Durant, with Steph, with Clay, with Draymond. That's what y'all call it. Won't y'all build him a statue? Jaja should get a statue. Cause he sure as heck ain't got no yeah. Jaja the headhunter. Like I said before, I remember very well. But I give Kawhi his due. The way they beat, and I don't think Giannis would have won a chip if he'd have stayed over there. I don't. I think Kawhi could have owned the East for a couple years. But he didn't want to pay them taxes in Toronto, and he wanted some lifestyle. So he's like, I ain't staying over here. So Cat's Kirk Mule to some good defense. Please. Well, they're a long way from that now. I know that. They're nowhere near that now. That nice win though against Denver. And I might talk about it, but I don't know. They should. Shoot, if Draymond gets one, Jaja should get one. Shoot, you gonna tell me that didn't turn that series around? Shoot, if he don't take, that's all you need. If he don't take Kawhi out, they don't probably go to the finals that year. And Durant might bounce a year early. No one talks about that. Everyone talks about LeBron didn't win against San Antonio the first year he bounced out. How about if Durant don't win that one and then he bounces? I'm just saying. That was a huge situation. And if Kawhi doesn't get hurt, does he go to Toronto? Does he go to the Clippers? Does he cry to want to go home? Think about it. Just saying. Yeah, that was a huge takeout. Okay. And they put statues up for anything. That's not too far fetched. That's not too far fetched because he really did come up big. That changed the whole landscape. And remember, Kawhi did win the Finals MVP. So, just saying. And they weren't the same team without him. Okay. See what we got real quick. Mm. Looks like everybody kind of cooled off now. So I will be doing that video about, yeah, the Pat Riley got the highest Laker winning percentage. I think I will touch that. So anyway, looks like everybody kind of just faded on ear. So mm, okay. It's not something I usually get asked, but I'd say more towards the first part than the second part. That's what I would say. One of the greatest coaches ever. A man that had a philosophy and a winner no matter, left a lasting impact. And a guy that set a standard. And the likes thereof you won't see again. For me, well, Phil's got the rings. Um, Depends on what context. If you're asking me as far as Lakers go, I'm taking Pat Riley. You asking me overall, I gotta give Phil the edge because it's the other details of the game that he figured out with what he had. He utilized it in a strategic way that worked. Phil got the most out of so much of what he had going on. Had a system that couldn't fail. So I just think that and it is a different type of attention to detail. You know, as far as what Kerr ain't in the conversation with those two, so don't even put him there. He ain't on the same caliber. Kerr don't even know how to jump start what he got. He couldn't figure out how to utilize a second team with his first team, and he let Draymond. Phil knew how to balance ego. Riley and Phil know how to massage ego. Kerr can't do nothing with Steph. And he couldn't do nothing with Jimmy Butler. Riley wasn't going for certain things and Phil wasn't going for certain things. That's what separated them. No, he's not in the conversation. Not at all. Just because he got 4 rings, he's not Popovich conversation. What's Golden State right now? But an average team. What's Golden State had after the whole thing with what's call who got slapped? How did that turn out? You just don't make the kind of blunders he made. You supposed to had a team that was a contending team, and now they just like another team, and he's wasting Steph Curry's career. So no, did not get the right pieces. Did not that doesn't defend. The whole thing with Kamingas is an embarrassment. You know how many draft picks and people you get, and you don't finish with what you got. It's just bad. So no, he's not in the conversation. Riley and Field figured out how to have an act too. They'd have had what Kerr had, they would definitely been successful with consistency. You know, no, Riley won with tightening people up. What's happening? Good to see. I'm on for 20 more minutes, so your timing is perfect. Riley won with building others involved. He understood like the nucleus of running with defense. It's a style. Phil had his bench guys look like starters. They manipulated Luke Longley and different guys like that. No, they won with making others role players to hustle, and they could beat you. But he also knew how to play up to his great players. That's the greatness. Kerr didn't do none of that. Kerr is not on that level. Glad to see you, D. And what's up? Riley got the job done. Phil got the job done. You're supposed to win with talent. It's embarrassing when a guy has talent and doesn't win. If that was the case, then how come Dale Harris didn't win with the Lakers? Okay. Dale Harris had 4 All-Stars with Shaq, Kobe, Nick Van Exel, and Eddie Jones. So what happened? Gotta have something to finish it up with. Yeah, what's up, Dakota? How you doing? So let me know if you're on, because if you're on, I'll do some talking. If you're not, I gotta roll. I'm on as long as people want to talk, so we can get into it. 62% saying no. Steve Kerr is not better than no Pat Riley, so please, let's not go there. Steve Kerr would look at you crazy for even typing that nonsense. Steve Kerr is not above Greg Popovich. He's not with Phil and Brad. He'll get a statue. He'll get a statue, but he ain't better than. Like I said before, what has he done in the last? He had a chance. The numbers are what? He's not better. He ain't. Steve Kerr knows he ain't top 4. He ain't gonna provide nothing. He's just somebody that's trolling. That's what it is. That's trolling. That's what happens when you get trolls. They come on late. The truth of the matter is, if he was smart, he'd call it a year this year. He'd leave out 1 year to run 1 year when he looks like he's falling apart, then to come out another year and fall apart. Because it's only going to get worse. Kerr doesn't believe that lie. If you gave him money to tell a lie, he wouldn't tell you that lie. Nothing he's done has been better than Pat Riley. Nothing. So LeBron might come back. But I think it would be if he's looking like he's looking most of these games, come back for what? Well, DiMaggio situation is different because Monroe and his success, and he fit as a Yankee Clipper. It was a little bit different. Well, then you would think Pat Riley's overrated. As you would think Steve Kerr's overrated. I mean, Phil Jackson. You think all the head coaches overrated if that was the case. I'm not gonna say that Magic did not facilitate on that floor because he was instrumental. But Pat Riley took that same nuance to the Knicks. They went to the finals and he went to Miami. So it's not like the guy didn't know what he was doing as a coach. Yeah, okay. It's called coaching ego. And there is a reality to that. Now, if you want to say he's overrated as a general man, if you want to say as far as field and getting talent and draft, I give you that. But to say that that man can't coach and don't know what he's doing is just absurd. That's hilarious. Phil, you can make a case for, but if you're gonna say that, then you gotta say Red Auerbach. Yeah, your comments are showing up. It's just that I'm laughing at this cat trying to brag about Steve Kerr. I don't think Steve Kerr's own family brags about him like this. It's hilarious. Okay. I disagree, but you're gonna have people that's gonna say anything to say anything. It's amazing how I be on for a couple hours and somebody come on here and just be hating. Don't forget Scottie Pippen and Rodman too, because they bought into his coaching philosophy. But he does know what he's doing. It has to kind of work. System kind of has to work. It is about a system. Didn't have to. He still went to a championship wherever he went though. No, he still had a splash brother named Clay, and he won two with Durant. So no, stop doing revision of history. He did have Durant for two of those rings, and he did have Clay, and that's not like Clay ain't a borderline top 75 player, and would act like they did not have stuff. You can make the case he's got three of those rings belong to Mark Jackson, but I'm just saying. Right. This is funny. I ain't gonna no. Kerr didn't even like the way Steph played. What the heck are you talking about? Mark Jackson's the one that was there for the Splash Brothers. So stop. Stop with the revisionist history. Mark Jackson was the one who talked about the Splash Brother. Kerr inherited. Kind of like another white dude who inherited a ring from Tony Dungy named John Gruden. Oh Lord, I can tell it's troll time. I'd say a couple of them. I mean, they had a chance the first year, and he stunk it up in game 3. I think he's a really good coach, but he doesn't belong with those guys. That's all I see. So two things can be true. I don't look at him as this alpha of a coach like those guys. How's it look in the last couple of years? Huh? He didn't get nothing for Clay. Um, they wish he was above Riley. They just got to be in their bonnet because I don't know. Because for whatever reason, I don't know what it is about Riley. Nobody's talking about Steve Kerr. In fact, if you talk to people who know anything about coaches, they don't even think Steve. They think Steve Kerr is about neck and neck with Eric Spoelstra. And what dressing? If you said dressing, I might. Now that's a good one right there. I by default Kerr, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Lenny didn't get the most out of his teams, and he settled after a while. He won a lot of games, but then it got watered down. But had he won another ring with Seattle, I would say, mm, I'd take Spo as well. Because he already showed that he could take a bottom end and lead a team with Jimmy Butler and Bam and Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. Steve Kerr had Jordan Sparks and had Andrew Wiggins in them, and he looked like he stunk it up and let Draymond break the team up. And then Clay got old and hurt and all that. And now you see what they got, mediocrity. And he has not implemented a stamp on this team at all. Who are you calling? Who are you calling that? What are you talking about? I was a big Lenny Wilkins fan. And I said when he won with Seattle, but he didn't do a lot with the talent he had as a coach of other teams. So a lot of coaches win gold medals as a coach. And how did it turn out when he wouldn't let Jalen Brown play and Jason Tatum? Can I have refresh memory, please? Can we hit refresh memory? Change nothing because you don't even make no sense. I'm a black dude, so how am I saying that? You don't even make no sense. You makes no sense. I wouldn't say Lenny's 100 times better than Kerr. Actually, I think they both underachieve. I did like Lenny's style as a person. I think Kerr has underachieved in some ways. He can't figure out what to do with their team. They just saying anything now. Oh, I didn't know Lenny Wilkins had a number one fan. Now, if you ask me, Steve Kerr versus, I'll give you a black coach that got Lenny beat was Casey Jones. But y'all don't know about no Casey Jones. See, Casey Jones got him beat. Casey Jones went to four straight finals with the Celtics. They barely won. Thank you. Casey Jones. What you know about Casey Jones, my man? They didn't look good in the Olympics either. Could have sure used Jalen Brown and Tatum. Yeah, they struggling. Uh, let's see. Phil had a guy named Dennis Rodman who was only 100 times better than Draymond Green will ever be on his best day. Riley only had to come in behind to deal with Magic and Kareem and all the ego that was there, and you had to expect to win. I said Casey. Thank you. My card never left, yo. You the one that left. Thank you. There's some trolling coming around here trying to start some mess when I already talked about Casey Jones. Bennett talked about it, Casey Jones. And if I wanted to get really up in someone, if I really wanted to get unbuckled before I go, Bill Russell for your behind. Since you think you dealing with a kid who knows something about some basketball, Bill Russell for your behind. Two-time player coach, 2 chips on the way out the door. Yeah, Bill Russell, player coach, 2 chips. Since you want to talk about somebody, yeah. Pat Riley had to go in there after they had a coach fired and bring his mentality. Please. Miss me with all that stuff. Steve Kerr had it set up. And when I remember he used to squint and squirm when Curry would shoot when Curry would shoot them half court shots. So no, I'm steaming because I'm gonna bring it and come on here and try to talk all crazy and reckless. Gotta put this in check. But I've been on it for 2+ hours. I'm gonna get ready to bounce. Cass up here trying to start some mess up. Shh. So it ain't even up for discussion. Shh. But I do appreciate more people coming through, and the polls have been going up pretty good, and we got some good stuff. In what lifetime? In what lifetime? There ain't nothing no one's ever looked at. If you said Tim Legler, that would be comical. But I could buy that over Steve Kerr. Give me a break. I think it should be the last of him. It should be. It should be. But they're gonna force a parade. Even if it is an in-season tournament parade, they'll force it. They somehow want to make him like he's Jackie Robinson in the NBA. I don't know. You know, they're forcing it right now. They won't let him just go off into the sunset because, well, he won't go off into the sunset because his ego and his head is too big. You know, he look bad though. Well, he probably will. Because for whatever reasons, he won't leave the building. He's got that Donald Trump syndrome where he just won't exit stage left. So you're probably right. Because for whatever reasons, he's got something to hide because he can't just go and retire like he should. Leave while you still got some dignity. Because you can't play no defense. Your team sucks. Your content creator head coach sucks. Your teammate ball hogs. He should be. It's entertaining. Besides, they were getting their butts handed to him anyway. So, I mean, after Pritchard hit that 3 before half, I mean, you need something to comfort you. They can call him all they want. They don't carry no weight, though. I hate to say it, but that's what they allow. I would like to think he did, but he ain't ushered in because, I mean, people could look at Rodman like that, too. You got to remember something. There's always guys that tried what they tried. Some people looked at Allen Iverson's tats and his clothing as unprofessional. There was a certain styling that was a change when another generation came. Well, Rodman was getting kicked out for doing antics and stuff, which, you know, not necessarily eating or drinking, but he did have a caregiver on the sidelines, Jack Haley. Remember Jack Haley? Yeah. It's not nothing new. It's not nothing new. The difference between now and then, though, to answer your question, TSP, is this. You don't have no OGs on the sidelines like the Davis boys or someone to put wood to you in the locker room when you acting like that. Someone to step to you. That's the difference. See, because it's an era where the kids are raising kids. And LeBron's a big old kid, so that's why he's vulgar when he does his interviews. And I'm not mad at Jalen Brown beep 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 beep, whatever. So, you know, but that's what they want. So they don't have any they don't they allow that because that's what they got, you know. So it's nothing new. He did. They did all kind of stuff. That's what I was saying, arrested development, and there's no maturation. So I'm like, well, how come this guy wants to be an owner when he still talks like that and he still dresses like that and he still acts like that? You know, because they allow that. The decorum is what it is. But I'm not surprised. He never was the deepest, the sharpest tool, but he had a skill set and he had charisma. He was, I already know. I know what he was doing. James Worthy too. So what's new? The NBA was not, just like the New York Mets in '86. Darryl Strawberry and Gooden were getting high and tearing chicks up in the dugout. What's nothing new? You do what you do if they let it. He sure would. Except for AC Green. AC Green didn't do nothing like that. AC Green was the only one. He didn't do that. But they all, Paul Abdul got sky hooked. The pool parties, the Laker pool parties. There's this old show called A Current Affair. If you ever get a chance, it might be on YouTube. Look it up with the Laker pool parties. Everybody knew about Laker pool parties. He sure was. And he's still trying to act like he got a little Jerry curl or something on his head. Did you see the Byron Scott show when Byron was talking about how greasy his head was and Magic threw that pass? That cracked me up. The ball had Jerry juice all on it. But AC was a tough dude, though. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Strawberry was a great talent. We didn't get the full totality. Ball hit and had it just like Coming to America had a Jerry curl spot stain on the jersey. And that was funny when hear Byron Scott telling that story. That was funny. So AC was tough though. AC, yeah. We all had a curl. Most cats did. It's that I didn't play for the Lakers though. It ain't gonna make no difference because Pete Rose ain't gonna get in the hall unless they decide to do it subtly. But they still got these old archaic rules. You probably had a Jerry curl last Tuesday. They're trying to say something like people had stuff in their hair. I don't know what you had. I know you don't come with common sense most of the time. You just be saying anything to be trolling, but I don't know what you had. I know that. But hey, ain't no shame in the game. Be yourself. If Pete Rose could get pardoned, but that still ain't gonna make no difference though. They just hate him though. Well, I'm gonna go in 3 minutes though. I ain't got no curl now. I got curly hair. There's a difference. My hair's all natural, yo. All natural. But if I could, I probably would rock one. If I could, if I wanted to. I just ain't nothing wrong with no Jerry curl. If that's what you got. The problem with the curls, that stuff be smelling after a while. That stuff you can light a blaze and you may blaze up. No, he ain't. His curl was cool. His curl was cool. The only cat I ever known be on the football field kept a do rag on. That's the only cat I know because they didn't throw the ball his way. Dion was something else though. I'm gonna go in about a couple minutes though. I've been on here for a chunk, so appreciate everybody that came. Even the haters that came through, cracked me up. We have some real live characters today. I might come back tomorrow night. I might. I don't know. I'll definitely be back on Saturday. So But if I know I'm gonna get some humor, just don't get no trolls. Anyway, we're gonna call it a day in a minute. Thank you, Dakota, for coming through. Good to see you again. Yes, appreciate you, Charlene. Thanks for coming through. I'll let you know. Maybe tomorrow, definitely Saturday. So that's how it stacks up right now. So appreciate when it came through. They showed did. You did. You know what you yeah, you talk about yourself. Look in the mirror because you definitely was funny. You was funny. I tell you something. If you need a manager, I can work with you. I think we can go find a stage. We can get you on. We could definitely get you on. He wasn't better, but Woodson was an underappreciated talent. Woodson was underappreciated, just like Dion, just like Daryl Green. You know, cats were bad. They just, Dion was just another level because his speed was he was, But let's not act like Rod Woodson and Daryl Green would chop liver because I think Daryl Green can make the case for a moment. Almost was right there with Dion. I know one thing: no one could run you down like Daryl Green. Rod was nice with the Steelers. He speed and all that, but the thing about Dion, he had charisma and he could beat you in different ways. But Daryl Green could too. I seen Daryl Green run back a punt. It's just that, and he stayed with the same team for 20 years and ran the 4-4. So, but again, there was a different level to everything. Different level to everything. So, all right. 62% said no, there is no excuse. I appreciate that because I'm glad those numbers came the way they supposed to be. So, anyway, Daryl was bad, could run and run you. Only guy I ever seen who could run down Tony Dorsett and Eric Dickerson in their prime. The only. That's what I'm saying. I remember that. And I remember when he ran down Tony Dorsett. Yeah, Rod was just, it was different. But Dion's situation was almost like out of a movie because Dion beat you in different ways and you couldn't stop that burst and that step. And he had showmanship, it's just level, it's a way a guy can present himself. But yeah, I'm gonna get ready to go because this ain't love connection. We ain't putting people's business out here. Y'all gotta do that on, putting that business out there on the low. Just be respectful. Just be respectful. I want people to be respectful. Got some comedians on here, so no jealousy. I just want safety. That's all. It's no jealousy by no stretch. I don't walk around with no envy. I just say make sure you respect the person. That's all I said. Yeah. Oh, it's tough. Some cats just got this, Dion could do that. Except with Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice got the best in most of the time. And Jerry would get him on the rack. Um, so am I. So am I. I know how to be smooth too, but again, places and things. Places and things. Uh Jerry would get him on the rack though, run after the catch. That was very impressive. First time in 45 years, that was very impressive for him. That was a heck of a battle too. I'm glad it didn't come down to the judges. That's the only way you're gonna win gold. That's the only reason why I don't watch that because I'm just them judges is janky. But very impressive though. You know. All right, I'm gonna get a roll, but I will be back maybe tomorrow, definitely Saturday. So be on the lookout. Questionable tomorrow, 25 or less tomorrow. But most of us don't. But that was impressive that they won though, because I do remember when they won the last time, and it didn't seem like it was gonna happen. But that was impressive that they won. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay woke. I'm out. Peace.